There's nothing that's not possible. You need to get in the rooms with women who have seen $100,000 moms, who have seen or are also scaling to $500,000 moms. And then you realize what's possible because we live in a world of infinite possibility with the internet and social media. So if you haven't leveraged social media to its full capacity, I would love to have a conversation with you because everyone has a story to tell.
So welcome, everybody. For those who are watching Instagram, hi, and I'm Rebecca Davison, intuition coach and light worker, helping people to create money from the inside out. I'm thrilled and excited to be interviewing Sophia. Is it Spallino? Is that how I pronounce your last
Spallino
name?
like spaghetti.
I love it. I'm just like, oh, this is going to be so much fun and so good already. So welcome, lovely. So good to have you here on the Intuitive Abundance podcast, recording for that. Hi to everybody as well online. I'm thrilled to have you here because I'd really love to introduce everybody to you and the amazing work that you do, especially around branding. But Sophia is your go-to social media queen. She's a strategist and profitable personal brand strategist for queer women and allies. So I love that because I know that your story is so powerful and I can't wait to unpack this with you. It's going to be beautiful. So she's your go-to business wing woman, social media strategist, personal brand coach, who just happens to be into spiritual lesbian harpist. We have to unpack
Yes.
that.
Yes.
I love it.
Will do.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, there's so much in that. She helps purpose-driven female service providers and soul-led coaches around the world build wealth and multiply their revenue with social media strategy. Amazing. Welcome to the show, Sophia. It's so good to have you here. There's so much to say. I'm like, oh my goodness, where do we start? Intuitive Abundance podcast, folks, is really about creating wealth from the inside out. And of course, that always comes through navigating your own personal journey. So maybe let's start with into spiritual lesbian harpist, right? After all
Sure.
that, it's like, like I know you're amazing at business branding, but let's talk about your story and how it even got you here. Because I'm even
Absolutely.
into spiritual lesbian. Like, tell me about that story.
Sure. Well, first of all, Rebecca, thank you for having me. I love being in your energy. I loved meeting you the first time. And yeah, I can tell you're really intentional with who you bring on the show. So I'm really honored to be here. So thank you. And as far as interspiritual lesbian harpist, I am a harpist. I've been a harpist since I was 5 years old. My parents say it was one of my first words. I'd be really disappointed every time I'd get a birthday or a Christmas present that wasn't shaped like a harp, and I could see it was wrapped and it wasn't a harp. And then one day my mom brought one home. There was only one harp teacher in the town. She hated kids. She told my mom, I don't want to teach her. I was only 5. She said, my hands are too small. My mom said, pray about it. And then a week later, she called my mom and said, God told me to do it. So that's how I learned the harp. And I grew up in a really religious house. Think what you see on TV when they have like a billion kids and they're all homeschooled. That was us, except there were just 3 of us in the household at that time. And I was the oldest sister. We always had homeschool teachers. We did everything together. We didn't have friends at school. We studied the harp. We studied theater. We studied art. And I started really playing with social media and getting traction at the age of 14, probably before it was even legal for me to have a YouTube channel or before they put age restrictions. I started learning how to tell my story and went viral for playing the harp. And viral back then was just a few million views, but no one was really on YouTube yet. I knew how to go viral and I could do it again and again. And it was really, really fun. So that's what got my love for the stage, music, social media. And here I am today building brands for women around the world, specifically queer women and their ally friends.
Wow, that's incredible that you had I want to say the nous, right? Like the courage, the pluck to do that as a kid. That's
Yeah.
and to put yourself out there because a lot of times people have, like part of the journey of being amazing at what you do is being seen in it. And that you
Yeah.
cultivated that as a child. That's amazing.
It
For
was
sure.
crazy. We lost a lot of friends because we would make music videos and put them on YouTube. And then
Mhm.
the parents would come and like yell at my mom and be like, "Why are you letting our kids be on the internet?" And my mom's like, "They're doing great things. They're creating art." And the parents didn't understand it yet. So it was really interesting. I gained a lot of friends who loved art and creation, and I lost friends whose parents didn't get it. And I still lose friends and relationships to this day because my life is the internet. And I built a personal brand, which means you got to be personal with people to let them get to know you, like you, and trust you to buy from you.
So that's a journey in and of itself. And weaving this in with your money story as well, because being visible like that is huge in terms of, creating the wealth that you desire. But
It
let's
really
back
is.
up a little bit. Like, how did you navigate that as a 14-year-old? Like, I seeing the popularity and then realizing that it's creating this contrast where some people are loving it and some people are not loving it, and then kind of moving away, which brings up, rejection and abandonment stuff. Like, that's a lot
Yeah.
even at that age.
To be honest, there's probably still some of that wounding that I'm working through with my therapist now. But it is something that is so valid. When you put yourself online, and there's a lot of people in real life that won't understand what you're doing, especially if you have this big vision for your life. Even from a young age, if you're putting something together that's art and playful to you, or if you are growing up and you're realizing you're going to make a difference in your life, you're finally going to live life on your terms, you're finally going to build your own brand, you're going to have to stand out online. You're going to have to tell your story. And you might be afraid of people going, "Oh, I knew her back when she was like this." And then you're afraid of people seeing you as inauthentic, even if you are someone different now and what you're sharing is authentic. Those fears will come up. Or people who saw you as so much smaller and you know you're worth so much more, or you've been able to accomplish more, but people question you. I was in a relationship where I was actually questioned, "Do you really make that much money recently?" And it was like, "Are you kidding? Do you want me to pull my bank account up for you? Like, I'm happy to show you." And it was just like, there will always be people, no matter how close, whether it's your family or your friends, you have to pivot from the small town mindset of, "I'm going to make everyone happy and I'm going to try to sell to everybody," to the big money mindset that is, "I am going to serve the one who needs me. I'm going to speak up to her and to her and only her. And when I
Mhm.
do that, I have faith that I'm going to attract with energy that I'm putting out and the very magnetic messaging. I'm going to attract the one that really needs to hear it." And when I say the one, it's not, it's your ideal client, it's an avatar, it's a type of person. It doesn't mean it's a small audience. There's been people that say, "Don't promote just to queer women. There's not enough of them to build a multi-million-dollar company for yourself, Sophia." But the truth is, there are, because that woman who needs me, is someone who needs to see a powerful queer woman, and she didn't get to see it, just like I didn't get to see it, right? We need to see what we want to create in the world. So if we can speak to the one and know that there's many miniature yous out there, because as a service provider or a coach, there's your clients 2 or 10 steps behind you, maybe 20 steps behind you, but it's the past version of yourself. So if you could
Mhm.
speak to her and hone in on that one, it feels like you're not speaking to a lot of people, but you are. You're going to make more money because your marketing will be more potent. And you're not worried about what anyone else thinks, because the people in your real life, actually, the people do matter. But people in real life in your small town, or who question what you're doing as you go forward, knowing you have a vision, knowing you have a mandate from God or whatever your higher power is called, then it doesn't matter, because all that matters is you're helping the person you're meant to help. That is how I got through it and how I get through it every day.
That's also very streamlined because,
Yeah.
and maybe this will be relevant by sharing with us your business journey, like how you got into business and what's unfolded during that journey. Because as an entrepreneur, we all know that it's amazing and it's exhilarating and it's exciting, but it can also be deeply
Scary.
challenging and yes, all the contrast. So tell us about, your desire from being this harpist to stepping into the business world and how that unfolded. Tell us about that
Yeah.
evolution.
So actually, I love to tell this story, and it's something we kind of have in common, is I didn't grow up with like this sad poverty story to start with. I always tell people, when you tell a story, you need to connect with pain first, And
Mhm.
that's the way to connect with people. But the truth is, I had a very good childhood. I have parents who love me. I didn't have any childhood abuse. I grew up in a loving, wealthy home. Honestly, my parents worked really hard. And by the time I could really realize what was going on, they were out of their crutch in the business stage. They were both entrepreneurs too. And they had, by the time I was old enough to realize what was going on, they had gotten through the hard times and they were already successful. So I grew up with the platinum spoon in my mouth. They were in the jewelry business. And I had a perfect schooling experience being homeschooled. I had a rude awakening in college. And then my parents cut me off right after college, like immediately. Like there was no like wean into this. It was like, okay, bye, Felicia. And it was really scary. I love them. I'm glad that they did what they did because it gave me my own wings. But I also was taught, so there's a couple stories going on here. I was taught to never work too hard, never accomplish too much. Now, have a good work ethic, but what I mean is never have a big dream because your real dream is to have a child and to have a family and to be a mom that's a stay-at-home mom. That is what I was taught is the ultimate goal. Go to school for your MRS degree. Do not care about math or science. You can be as creative as you want to be. I was always supported in that, but that is because ultimately your career won't matter. And I love my mom, but that's what she taught me because she said, if you make too much money, your husband wasn't allowed to think about a wife potentially, but your husband will actually depend on you for income. And then you'll never be able to rest. And then you'll never be able to be home with your children. Wouldn't that be terrible? That was the energy. And it was her wanting to protect us. I get it because she didn't grow up with like a healthy father in the home relationship. She wanted us to have that. And so that was the goal. And I set out to do that. I got married at 24. I did the whole religious wait till marriage to have sex. Terrible idea. 10 out of 10 would not recommend.
Not a good review.
No, but I do believe in sexual integrity and protecting your energy immensely. But waiting to figure out that you don't even like the male anatomy until your wedding night was a really bad idea. And even then, I tried to talk myself into being okay with it. It was not a good marriage. However, even though I am 100% a lesbian now that I can process that, I would have stayed with that man forever because I made a promise to God and to him, but he was not good to me in many ways. And there was just no way to make it work. So but I was always an entrepreneur. So I saw my parents do this thing. I was also taught, okay, get married, do that. But then as soon as I was married, I was like, well, I'm going to help my husband. I'm going to have my own business. So I did it, but I didn't think like, oh, this has to really matter long term. So I never invested in coaches. I
Right.
never made more than $4,000 a month. Honestly, it was probably like 2,500 when I was with him. Like maybe even combined income was no more than like 4,000. And I remember literally not being able to eat the amount of pistachios that I wanted to eat. Like he would come home from work and be like, why do you eat all these pistachios? And we had like a $30 to $60 a week grocery budget. And now I can't imagine that because I spend hundreds of dollars a week on my groceries and my vitamins. So it's like, she's like, what? But I did, and I would actually count the pistachios and the almonds to make sure that, like, not count one by one, but like separate to make sure that it was fair. Wasn't that sad? Like, that's how poor. And I had grown up wealthy, and I was in a trailer park with this man.
Mm.
Yes, it was just a sad marriage, didn't work out. But at the end of the day, I worked till like 2 in the morning. I was like, I'm going to make my business work. I worked three other part-time jobs. That online business completely failed. I didn't understand sales psychology. I didn't understand sales processes. I didn't understand sales funnel, and I didn't have confidence at all. It was literally like beaten out of me verbally every day. So, of course, I didn't succeed. That's not shocking. But I did develop a lot of content strategy throughout that time that was successful. And so I could create viral content, but I didn't know how to sell. That was the difference.
Mhm.
So from there, marriage ended. I ended up partnering with a wealthy entrepreneur and building his brand back up. He was my best friend. We had a lovely relationship, but at the end of the day, I had to come out and just be like, I'm gay. And we separated on good terms. And here we are. a year and a half on my own. I built a multi six-figure business scaling a social media agency. And then I pivoted into coaching so I could teach more women at one time rather than doing it for them.
That's
That's how
amazing.
we got here today.
That's, and I know, right? We're putting it in a nutshell. Really, we're doing
Literally,
short version, but
the pistachio shells.
let's talk about two really significant things that have
Okay.
impacted your journey, which is obviously the religion, spirituality, and then this transition, realizing like sexually that you're a lesbian. And how do you reconcile those two things? Because I'm sure there are plenty of people who have an opinion about that,
Oh my
right?
God.
Yeah.
Yes. So good at what I do, viral storytelling. That's one of the strategies that I promote every single day. And I have a very specific way to do it, an efficient way to do it for women to go viral. This past weekend, of course, I used one of my strategies. I've got like 70,000 views right now on TikTok on one particular video, image sets carousel that is telling my story of actually reconciling my faith with my spirituality. So I grew up really, really strict non-denominational, like there was no room for anything else. And right now I call myself inner spiritual. If I had to choose, mystic Christian, but I'm very, very connected to Jesus as well as respect the teachings of all cultures and all religions and all people around the world and see them as valid. I don't believe that my way is the right way. I will appreciate the Bible, but I also am very aware of the gross mistranslation that happened in 1946 that they inserted the word homosexual where it should have been the word for, I don't want to say it because I don't want to get pinged online, but for people who hurt children. And homosexuals are not that. So it's really upsetting that there are people that still promote that doctrine. And when I share about my faith online, there are Christians that come from me being like, you can't be a lesbian and love Jesus. And I'm like, hold up. Why are you being so mean? This is wild. Like, I'm telling the world about my faith. Let's all just agree to love each other. So it's really sad to see that the people that I would love to connect with don't have space in their heart to welcome my experience and call who I am a sin or a lifestyle. But I can look back to my childhood and know that I've been attracted to women, beautiful blonde women with short hair and blue eyes like you, Rebecca. Honestly, you're my type. This is the problem. This is the problem. I've known that since I was 5 years old, since the first time I was shown a old Doris Day movie. So I'm very, very clear on who I am. There's two reasons people become homosexual or are homosexual for the most part. And I hope that this is not politically incorrect, but I'm going to say it anyway. You are either know from an early age that you were born that way, or there is something in your life that makes you that way, an experience that shapes you that way, and you go on to be that way. And then maybe it is a choice for you, or maybe you felt forced, whatever it is for you, both are valid. I was born gay. Like I know that to my core. And I had no sexual trauma as a young child. I did older, but not as a young child. So I'm very clear that God made me that way. And to question it would be questioning the creator, the source of all life. I can no longer do that. And then there are people who go through sexual trauma and choose later never to look at a man again or become asexual or whatever it is for them. That is valid too, 100%, or other experiences that just shift you in that direction.
Absolutely. This is huge. Because I love that I saw the carousel and looked at the comments that you were getting as well, which is quite
Oh,
extreme.
yeah.
And
Yes.
you're a pro with that. I could tell that you've navigated this. This isn't your rodeo in terms of like dealing with that contrast that can happen online. But such a stunning example too, because if we're bringing this back to the money story, that understanding that embracing your story and your journey is a huge thing in creating abundance for yourself, that you have to do that in order to, because it's, the abundance is really what's the right word, the calibration of all of it, the light and the dark inside of us, right? To be the
Yeah,
person like I can embrace all of it and love all of it and therefore share all of it because I have no shame about it, and that in its
absolutely.
inspiration. So yeah, I really love that. And that you're
Thank you.
teaching other people how to do that now that you've obviously got that other piece firmly in place in regards to creating the sales and the confidence and what
Yes.
it takes to go viral. So I'm sure.
Yeah, because you can go viral and not have any sales, not have any sales conversations. That's where people get stuck. And it's so important to have a true, I do a 5-phase PPP blueprint. It is like from phase one of brand foundations to having solid offers that are scalable and that you understand how to pitch the right offer to the right client. And then you've got content strategy and then the actual funnel building, the client attraction, and then systems that work for you. If you're missing one of these pieces, you're not going to be able to scale your business. You might be able to go viral, or you might be able to make a sale, but you won't be able to go viral. Like it takes all of it to make it work.
Yeah, I'm putting those pieces in place so it does all work. So from your own experience, what has been some of the most challenging aspects in your money journey? What would you say?
Ooh, it's a good question. I think going from having a really good life to going to pretty much living in poverty. I was using baking soda on my face. I'm one of those girlies that spends thousands a month on skincare regimens now. So like I can't imagine. But I was literally using baking soda on my face at a point. When you have that experience, it is hard to build momentum. And I think of energetic momentum like a snowball, right?
Mm,
It is hard to build it back, to believe in yourself, to think you're worthy of being in the same rooms, restaurants,
mm,
country clubs, any sort of place of where people hang out that are not in poverty again. It's like you begin to associate yourself with where you are. So one, it's building energetic momentum, and the first way to change that is to change your environment. And I moved out. I lived in my grandmother's, love her to death, but for lack of a better word, little shack outside of my hometown. And I would drive every day to my favorite neighborhood where I always knew I was going to live. And I would sit in one of the empty lots and just meditate. I'm talking like people thought I was nutty, and I am nutty, but I would drive at like 5:30 in the morning to go sit in an empty lot and meditate and imagine myself clicking the garage door, opening the garage door, entering my house, blah, blah, blah. And whenever I left the ex boyfriend that I worked for, built his brand, we had a home together, and I left all of that and started all over again. So I'm now in manifesting mode, but I just haven't gotten a house yet because I don't really have time to think about that. I'm traveling and building a huge business at this point. So I'm chilling, but I'm still in my beautiful space. I'm still in my beautiful neighborhood. And it's like anytime you feel like you've lost something, I would tell my audience, I want you to think, and your audience who's listening right now to Intuitive Abundance, it would be start building momentum back by putting yourself in a different physical location and then hijacking the emotions from something you did in the past that you felt relief. Because sometimes you can't reach for joy, you can't reach for hope, but you can reach for a moment that you've experienced relief where you're able to drop your shoulders and go, thank God. And if you
mm,
could tap into that first and build
mm.
momentum from that emotional state, and then move from there up and up the emotional chart, that's how you get to where you want to be.
And people often forget that. They often, we're so busy, often putting so much pressure on ourselves for it to look a particular way that people often overlook what they've already created. And if they just start from there, they'll give themselves a huge amount of leverage to actually go, wow, you learned to walk, you learned to drive, you learned to, go rent a home or whatever you've done in your experience, jump on a plane and travel around the world. That takes a certain skill set, which you have
Yeah,
available. So we can overlook all those things so easily.
we
Wow.
can.
Yeah, this is a big question and it's quite contrasting. And, we're going to offer it to you and see what's there for you. But one of the
Yeah.
things that can come up for people when it comes to money is shame. And I guess you
Mm,
touched on it a little bit in regards to that experience of like maybe being cut off and then being in the situation where you're literally counting out the pistachios and using the baking soda on your face. What would you tell people in regards to any experiences that you've had with shame and money?
oh, so good. Growing up in the religious community, there's always shame around making a lot of money and not giving it all to the church. There's shame around not really seeing an example of someone who looked like me in the queer community. I love the women that have come before me and the queer people have come before me, but I don't see examples of a lot of powerful femmes. They're there, but they're not out of the closet all the time. So we see these strong women who are feminine, but we might not know that they're gay because they don't talk about their experience so much. So for me coming out, there just that alone was a lot of shame because it was like, wait, no one looks like me, and then people won't consider me valid when I talk about this. And then when I started making money, I needed to share it. Like, I know me sharing what I'm capable of is going to inspire other queer women out there who have for years been marginalized, for
Mhm.
years been put down just for being queer, lack of self-confidence that comes with being queer because people around, like, we can love it, we can experience queer joys, pockets of it. But at the end of the day, most of us have experience of being completely bullied in some way, whether it's as a child or as an adult, and that affects you and makes you feel shame. Even whenever I post on social media, like I did this weekend, and 70,000 people see it, and I get hundreds of comments that are mean across the following videos, it's like, oh, am I going to let this make me feel shameful? Am I going to let it make me feel some sort of way? I mean, that's grounding back into faith and knowing who you are and knowing your truth and knowing that I'm put here to do something big. Like, I'm going to be the lesbian Tony Robbins. So there will be people who don't like me, and that's okay.
Sure. And
That's it.
people who, because I was just thinking, leaning into that, that's very true. There's not necessarily really omnipresent lesbian role models for people to aspire to. It's not actually
No.
in the society, vernacular, community, whatever. Like, it's not present. And you're quite right. There is your place to be claimed and to step into.
Yeah.
Or there are so many people who contact you and who are like, thank you so much, and I'm so grateful, and this is life-changing to me, and it means so much to me to see you being the leader and the person who's lighting the way for others. So
Yes. Yes. How can we manifest what we cannot see? How
mm,
can we manifest what no, I mean, no one's ever paved the path. Well, I'm going to do it.
mhm,
Like, someone has to go first. I will do it. And I want to see more lesbians, whether you're femme or you're masculine. I want to see you make money because I've met a handful of very, very wealthy lesbians, but a handful. That's it. They're very
mm,
few and far between. And they're also very private about their lives because most of them are in their 40s or 50s at this point and have worked really hard to get to where they are. And they don't want people questioning their success or looking at them different. And
mhm,
so they don't talk about their queerness as much. There's
mm,
still something there that is a little shy about it. And maybe for good reason, because the women before me, the generation had it even harder.
mm,
I came at the right time where it's safer than ever to be queer, but there's still so much work to do.
mm. So what do you think people need to know? Like, what do straight people need to know? And I know that might sound like a naive question, but there's nothing like asking somebody who's been through that experience to be able to
Yeah.
and to inform. So, of course, I would imagine that there's fear for people or discomfort or whatever. But from your perspective, what do you think people need to know?
I love it. I actually have not been asked this on a podcast yet. So you're a great interviewer, by the way. I think what queer people would love to hear from the straight community is, especially the spiritual communities and the communities that have wealth, is, hey, I don't want a handout ever, but here's a hand up. Like, come on my show. I want to hear your experience. Tell your story. Because I think if more queer stories were openly shared on platforms where straight people wouldn't expect them, wouldn't sign up for them, they would
Mhm,
get thrown into an experience and they could hear my story that, yeah, it's undeniable. Sophia Spallino was born gay. She's known since she was 5. And that's going to help them treat the queer people in their real life better and with respect. Because every time someone's treated or looked down on or questioned, literally questioned, like my identity is questioned, like I'm making it up or something, like that ruins your self confidence, that eats at your self confidence. So if we could just have queer stories be shared and it become normal. But you know what? I will say this. I will say this, Rebecca, and I don't care if it offends anyone. Not enough queer people are out there making waves in the world yet. You
Mm.
can't just expect first opportunities to be handed to you. You gotta level up and go, you know what? I'm gonna go get what my family didn't give to me. I'm going to go get what I never saw any other queer person go get. I'm going to go take the action that's required for my success. And I don't expect anyone to hand it to me or treat me better just because I'm queer. However, we will welcome those opportunities to share our stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what it's about, isn't it? Like, and again, the gift of you that you have as a storyteller to bring that forward and to claim it and to be in the energy of complete boldness about it, which is this is who I am, this is important, this needs to be shared, people need to understand. And how that works too, also in your message and your branding. Like the more you actually embody yourself and share of yourself, the more powerfully it lands with your audience. So that's quite the journey, Sophia. Like I commend you, right? That's a lot. That's a lot to
Thank
navigate.
you.
A lot of contrast.
It has been a lot of contrast, but what I can tell you is I've been able to accomplish great things, multi six-figure business in 18 months, struggling on my own, not knowing how I was going to break. I thought if I could just make $4,000, like I'll be able to at least eat the same way I used to eat. Like that was my one thing. And now like my biggest month so far was 53,000. And it's like, oh my God, there's nothing that's not possible. There's
Mm.
nothing that's not possible. You need to get in the rooms with women who have seen $100,000 moms, who have seen or are also scaling to $500,000 moms. And then you realize what's possible because we live in a world of infinite possibility with the internet and social media. So if you haven't leveraged social media to its full capacity, I would love to have a conversation with you because everyone has a story to tell. If you're not queer, as long as you don't hate gay people, I will help you. Okay. Like just
Right.
reach out, shoot me a DM. I
Yeah.
want to help women win. I want to help women win because if I had seen an example of it, I mean, I could have gotten to this place a lot sooner. I made
Mm.
it. I
Mm.
made it here, and I believe God doesn't make mistakes. So all the timing is divine and perfect. But, I wish that I could have figured it out a little sooner how much I was capable of.
Yeah. Wow. And again, I guess that's the journey, isn't it? The unfolding. So, where do people go to find you, Sophia? Where's the best place to go? Tell me that. I know
Yeah.
I'm going to put the links underneath, but where do you want people to go in the first instance? Is it better to find you on Instagram? Is it better to
Yes.
find somewhere else?
Instagram's my favorite place because we can chat in the DMs. You can watch my stories. I've got a broadcast channel where it's like literally it's like, is she praying today or is she drinking her margarita and podcasting in the broadcast channel? You never know what Sophia you're gonna get. But it's so much fun. And if you just DM me a little rainbow, you'll get access to the broadcast channel. And other than that, if you have any questions, just DM me. If you DM me the word strategy, my automation is going to first send you a question to see if you're a good fit for me to send you my free training. Now, my free training isn't like a basic ass free training. It's
Mhm.
nearly half an hour, and it's exactly what I wish I had known when I started. If I'd have had this 5 years ago, oh my God, I could have been making like $200,000 more a month. I wasted a lot of time. So please, by all means, grab the free training by DMing me strategy. And other than that, just join in the fun because Instagram's a very fun place for me. And if you don't have Instagram, sophiaspallino.com is where you can go to also still shoot me a chat or grab the free training. That's SOPHIASP as in Paul, ALLINO.com. Just sophiaspallino.com.
We'll make sure that we have all the links below and on the podcast so people
Amazing.
easily. So,
Thank you.
from your experience, what do you want to tell people? Like, what's your message in regards to business, entrepreneurship, making money, owning your wealth? Like, what's something that you'd love to leave our audience with?
Share your story very strategically once you have a sales process in place. I had a client recently grow 50,000 followers in a month, 37,000 followers within 2 weeks, 20 million views really quickly. She did not have the offer in place yet. We were working on it, but she was also working on content. And you know what? It's great. It doesn't always happen that fast for someone to go viral, but it did for her. And so what I wanted to get done with her, and what didn't happen is because she had vacations coming up and life in the way, but having that offer in place in a true sales process to be able to translate that into dollars is so important. Do not build a house on any lack of solid land, because you're going to be in trouble. So, because once you use my storytelling strategy, you will go viral. I mean, it's inevitable. It's just a matter of time. So please do what it takes to be very clear on what you're offering to your clients and how you're communicating that. Get your messaging down and then plot to go viral.
And enjoy the process too, because when you know that it's inevitable, it's about the calibration and the continuous calibration, right? Like one thing I really about money, it's right. It's like, oh yeah, this is what it feels like to be making X amount of dollars per month, and getting comfortable with that and then expanding it into more. So
yes, that's so good.
Oh, thank you so much. Wow, I feel like, maybe there's some more podcasts coming, because I feel like we've just got the tip of the iceberg here in terms of really learning about you and what it is that you offer and what you do. But thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. Anytime, I'll be back on. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
As queer women, that's women with an X, because of course we are inclusive here. As I was saying, as queer women, we haven't always been lifted up or celebrated. We have often felt left out and put down in places that historically haven't welcomed us. In fact, we have been conditioned by society to be grateful for mere tolerance. My resilient LGBTQ+IA community, I am talking to you. I'll bet you've recognized the spark that God put in your heart, your unique calling to impact the world in only a way that you can. A business idea, a brand to build, a coaching program to start, the art to create, the song to sing, the book to write, that relationship you long to build. But that little light inside your soul has often been blown out by the people around you, leaving you conditioned to play small and not step into your full potential. You are not alone, and it's never too late to truly live your most authentic dream life. I would know. I came out late in life, nearly 30, a couple years ago, after being bullied for months inside a country club. Right outside of my weights class, I was assaulted by a bigoted woman who couldn't stand my queerness. She physically pushed me, so I had a meeting with management. I told them I didn't feel safe. I brought forth evidence, and guess what? They did nothing. Sadly, this is normal. But in order to create change, we have to be brave enough to be the change ourselves. So I did a thing. I started my own virtual country club for queer women, a safe place for us to create meaningful connections and grow. So if you're looking for a love connection, networking opportunities, or coaching to live your best freedom life, you want to apply to be a part of our incredible community of purpose-driven, passionate queer women. Join Queer Women Rising, the online queer country club for growth-minded women ready to level up in life and love. To apply, DM me the word rising on Instagram at Sophia Spallino, or chat me the word rising on sophiaspallino.com. Now, beyond hosting Queer Women Rising, I am a personal brand coach and social media strategist. If you give me a moment to tell you about what I do, I can share how I can help you, just like I've helped many clients before get famous online and make more money. If you're an exhausted coach or service provider, ready to scale your business for real, or you're just getting started building your dream brand from scratch, and if you're ready to build your own profitable personal brand, I can show you how in 6 months or less. But why should you take my word for it? Well, I've spent over 10 years in the social media marketing industry, amassing over 400,000 followers across platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. as well as hosting a top charting podcast, building a successful service provider business, and coaching powerful women to build purpose-driven, profitable personal brands. Yeah, I have the social media and sales process strategies that can help you finally make the money you deserve. Because I want to help you build your dream business that gives you time, freedom, and makes real money. So for a limited time, I'm giving away your first steps to go from less than 5K months and advance to 10 to 20K months. Grab my newly revamped Profitable Personal Brand Blueprint, my proven framework to build yourself a personal brand that motivates, inspires, and sells so that your business can thrive the way it should. Just go to the link in the show notes. Whether you're a novice at creating or you're feeling stuck, hitting a plateau in your business that once had consistent revenue, and need guidance, support, and coaching to get to your next level, I invite you to book a strategy call to speak with either me or my team to see if we'd be the right fit to work with each other inside of the Profitable Personal Brand 6-month coaching program. Mind you, I am extremely selective, and this coaching program is not for everyone, and I'm not afraid to say it. I am only taking on serious, purpose-driven, and committed queer women and allies inside of my community. If that's you, book your free strategy call. The link is in the show notes. And if you feel yourself come alive and love listening to Queer Women Rising, please leave me a 5-star rating with a kind review wherever you listen to podcasts. Be sure to share the show with a powerful woman you know. And remember, when you're called to do something greater in life, love, or business, you will be uncomfortable until you move. So get up and go get what you want. Let's rise. Let's rise.